see you right there.
Okay, all right. I'll stand here and be super close for the people online. Shall I go this way? We're live. Good morning. Happy Friday. Happy College Colors Day. So glad everybody's here. Zach didn't know about that. It's College Colors Day. Good morning. I'm Phyllis Newbill. I am the Associate Director of Educational Networks in one of the centers at ICAT. We're glad you're here for this morning's ICAT Playdate. First, a couple of housekeeping things. We're glad you're here in person, and we're also glad if you're here online. For those of you who are here in person, please know that there's a 360 camera here at the front of the room, and so it can see the whole room, and it will exist online afterwards, so please behave accordingly. For those of you who are online, we're so glad you're here as well. I hope you like and subscribe to the ICAT YouTube channel. If you're in the room, be sure to sign in. That's how we justify donuts. Please enjoy those donuts and coffee. But the clipboard is on the back and we can just pass that around. If you have questions about the presentation, let me get to you with the mic before you start answering or asking your questions so that our friends online can hear us. And also, if you're online, if you'll use that questions link, and we'll see those and get them asked as well as we can. There is a little delay online, so put in those questions as soon as you can. If Professional Development Network credit is useful to you, please do make sure you check in with me and sign in for that. If you're watching online, send me a note through that questions link. Announcements this morning. There are some deadlines coming up for ICAT mini grants and also for student grants. So those are coming up in September 15th and October 9th, so check the website for those official dates. Lots of opportunities to join in the fun there. This morning, we have Tanner and Brett, right? I got that? Yeah, good. And they have been working together at, I'm going to let them all say it all because I'm going to mess it all up, in the City of Alexandria at the Torpedo Factory on a fantastic collaboration. I'm just going to let them tell you all about it. Tanner, take it away.
Great, thank you, Phyllis. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Woo! I got a response. Great. I'm excited to tell you about Sound Horizons, which is an immersive audio installation at the Torpedo Factory. But to tell that story, we need to go a little bit higher up. And this morning, I'd like to introduce my friend, Brett Johnson, from the City of Alexandria Office of the Arts, to tell us a little bit about their role in this really cool facility called the Torpedo Factory. So Brett, would you step us through?
Sorry, Tanner, did you just say for me to go?
Yes, Brett.
Oh, okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me, Tanner. I do expect a donut next time you come visit me. My name is Brett Johnson. I'm the Curator of Artistic Advancement for the City of Alexandria. My background is actually in studio art, but my career has been in arts administration. So I'm going to quickly go over the history about us and why we're doing this. So real quick, the City of Alexandria was founded in 1749. George Washington was our most famous resident. He actually mapped out the city, one of the early mappers. It also has a controversial history. It was one of the largest slave markets in the country and home to Robert E. Lee. It was part of the original District of Columbia, but then in 1846, it succeeded and left the district. It is known for its small businesses, boutiques, restaurants, and its kind of local feel, even though it's a large city with a population of over 150,000 people, just under 15 square miles. It does have a high median income of over 100,000 people, which makes it the highest income independent city in the state of Virginia. It's named the top 5 small city in the United States by Condé Nast, and it's named the 9th best city in the US by Travel and Leisure, which is pretty darn impressive. I work for the City of Alexandria in the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Activities. We enrich this city by creating meaningful experiences, and I'm within the division of the Office of the Arts. The Office of the Arts promotes the values of arts and culture We nourish and celebrate creativity, contributions of all the artists and arts organizations within the city. And we encourage the community to participate in programming, facilitating access to the arts. So we serve the city residents, workers, and visitors. We're also what's called a local arts agency, which is a specific term. If you look it up on Americans for the Arts, you'll find a little bit more about it. Each one is basically unique, but ultimately they work to sustain the health and vitality of the arts and artists locally, while also striving to make arts accessible to all members of the community. So Office of the Arts is a small team, but a powerful team, sort of like ICAT. We have public space activations, we do events, we have literary programming, we provide grants to artists and local arts groups. We produce public art for the city, and we do exhibitions, and we also manage the Torpedo Factory Art Center currently, which we'll talk a little bit. So there's a piece of our public art, and you'll see right behind it, the white building with the red trim is the Torpedo Factory Art Center, the waterfront side of it. So why are we here today? It started, frankly, back when Amazon was looking for its headquarters. The state of Virginia decided that it would work with Northern Virginia to incentivize them to come by creating the idea of the Innovation Campus. State of Virginia put money towards the support of that, and luckily we received the Virginia Tech Innovation Campus coming to Alexandria next fall, which we're super excited about. We know that it's largely computer science and engineering, but for us as an arts organization, we see innovation as much more than that. We see arts and creativity as threads that run deep through all forms of innovation. So that's scientific, cultural, engineering, health, technology, and the rest. When we reached out to Virginia Tech, we found Tanner and his team at ICAT, and it was just perfectly natural fit because that's exactly what they do down there, is cultivate and collaborate with all these different kinds of academic backgrounds and technologies to create art. So you're looking a little bit at the Torpedo Factory. The Torpedo Factory was a torpedo factory. It was originally 18 buildings, and now it's down to really just the one last building that we manage as the Art Center. It was open in 1918. It started in 1919. The building operated mostly through World War II, producing torpedoes. And then in the 40s, it was shuttered. And in the 60s, the City of Alexandria purchased it for a really good deal. Back then, it was not a very desirable part of town. Now it's an extremely desirable part of town. So when you're up there, please come visit. We are the largest community of artists, studios open to the public under one roof. Opened in 1974. It was originally supposed to be a 3-year experiment that now is 49 years old, going on 50 next year. So we're excited about that. We have over 500,000 visitors annually. And it is largely comprised of about 70 plus studios, about 9 plus galleries. And depending on how you do your count, it's 100 to 200 plus artists that would call the institution home. What we're focusing on today is Target Gallery. And the Target Gallery is managed specifically by the Office of the Arts. We've been producing exhibitions in there. We decided to sort of take a new route this year, which was to, rather than do multiple exhibitions, was to take on one large partnership. And it just so happened that it fit perfectly with our interests of also connecting with Virginia Tech to kind of pull the word innovation to its extreme with the new campus coming and have a year sort of lead up to the new opening of the campus where we specifically dig into that term innovation and really pull out the creativity from it and highlight that. So that's what we did with the new exhibition. I think Tanner's going to explain the exhibition, but effectively we have 3 exhibitions planned. We have one currently in there. It'll end in September 2024, potentially more to come. We'll see. We are excited for those exhibitions, and we also have some great programming coming up, especially the newest one coming up on September 15th and 16th, which Tanner may touch on a little bit. So I'll turn it back over to Tanner unless I'm missing anything, Tanner.
Sure, thank you, Brett. And I just wanted to point out, if you haven't been there, it's a really cool facility. There's 3 floors, and when you walk in, there's artists working in studio. They'll talk to you, they'll explain their process and show you what they're making. It's just really a great vibe in there. So this is a picture of kind of the main lobby area, which you can kind of see the corridors, and they're almost like little shops that you can go check out all the artists. It's really neat.
Yeah, and it's a very fun part of town too. So definitely come visit. Only 4.5 hours.
Very good. So specifically to the Sound Horizons installation, we've partnered with Brett. When Brett talked with us early on, and this happened over the summer, so this happened very quickly. We knew we wanted to present something that was immersive, multimodal, so we decided to take 4 great audio pieces that have been created here at Virginia Tech and present them in the Target Gallery. So this is the empty Target Gallery. I'll show a few process pictures of us doing the installation. The Target Gallery empty. So you're probably asking yourself, there's no loudspeakers in there. How do you present a sound installation with no loudspeakers? So the answer for that is the Tesseract, which is a mobile loudspeaker array that we've designed to go to places like the Target Gallery at the Torpedo Factory. It's made of all off-the-shelf assemblable pieces, so we built it in the studio. You can tell that I'm just telling everybody what to do like a good state employee. I don't have a clipboard or a coffee, but you have to have that to boss everybody around. Gustavo's lifting some truss and moving it in, and Brandon's here too. We assembled the Tesseract in there over about a day. And in order to present some immersive visuals, we also brought 3 enormous TVs. These things are monsters. They're 85-inch TVs. We built them to go inside of the Tesseract structure. Here it is coming together. So it almost perfectly fits inside the room. And here's Gustavo doing some calibration on the displays, getting everything set up. And here's a couple of shots from the final installation. It's dark, so we can have the displays playing, and it's in its own room. It's isolated, so the acoustics are pretty good. The Tesseract sounds very good in there with the doors closed. You can't really hear the outside environment. I want to jog back briefly to here. So we do have 4 really great pieces that are playing in there through January 28th. It's free to go in. You just walk in and experience the pieces. You can sit down and enjoy them. It's about half an hour. The 4 pieces are Liminal Spaces, Dear Younger Me. There's a few studies of the sonification of cybersecurity data. So you can hear what a cybersecurity attack sounds like with spatial audio. And then finally, another great project with music therapists studying the effects of music therapy on Alzheimer's patients and their caregivers. you can hear what is happening in the brain of the participants, as well as hear the music from the session. So it's this really great, diverse set of 4 different pieces. It's about half an hour long. And we'll move forward. And here's the next cool thing that's happening at the Torpedo Factory. On September 15th and 16th, we have 3 Virginia Tech performances happening in the sort of grand lobby space. And if you'd like to get a free ticket, here's a QR code to sign up. Again, this is in presentation with Brett and the Office of the Arts. There are 2 dance pieces and 1 concert piece. So if you're in the area, please join us for an evening of dance, technology, art, music, and conversation. So I'm wrapping up a little early. For anything else, Brett, you wanted to add, or any questions from the audience?
Tanner, I might add.
Yeah.
I just might add one quick thank you to our sponsor, the Hilton Alexandria Art Center, because they are doing the most important job, which is bringing all you guys from ICAT up to Alexandria. That's a big deal. And I wanted to point out the next 2 exhibitions that we're planning, which might spill the beans a little bit, but I think it's kind of fun to talk about. So after this exhibition comes down in January, the next exhibition we're planning is called Shakespeare's Garden, which is an immersive sound experience, again, that you actually walk through. It's comprised of projection, audio, and taken largely from Shakespeare's own words. And then after that, in June to September, we're looking at having the exhibition Acoustic Invasion, which is largely based on research done on the effects of invasive species on the native habitats of the environment, and literally what that does to the acoustic soundscape of that environment. So that should be really exciting. And then when Virginia Tech Innovation Campus opens, I know ICAT is planning then to do an exhibition there, which we hope to be a part of as well.
So you might be asking, how can you get involved with this? You can talk to me and Brett, and we'd be happy to ideate on how we could get involved. And Brett, I noticed that there's also residency opportunities through the Office of the Arts. Is that correct? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Residents. So we have several kinds of residents with the Office of the Arts. We have residencies that we do sort of on a short-term basis that do activations throughout the city. So they might do pop-up work where they study a population and go to that population and do an art activity with them or a performance in that area. With the Torpedo Factory Art Center, we also offer residencies, of course, there because we have 70 plus studios. So all the artists that have studios there are resident artists. They're all juried through a very specific, deliberate, and you could say intense jury process because it is such a privilege to have a space there. It's also largely subsidized by the city, so it's more than 60% below market rate to have a studio, to rent a studio in that building, which is quite substantial for that region or that area, that part of town, because that's an extremely desirable part of town. And then also within the Torpedo Factory Art Center, we have our post-grad residency, which is recent graduates who want the experience of having a studio, who kind of need a stepping stone from university to into the real world of being an artist. And those are free residencies. We actually give you some money for it. and you get a 3-month studio. So for any students that are graduating soon, take a look at that, because that's an exciting kind of a step out once you're done with school.
Great, thank you, Brett. At this time, we will open up for questions.
I'm ready. Who has questions? First, let's do just a round of applause. What a great way to see all these projects again in a new space. Thanks so much, Tanner and Brett. What questions do we have in the audience? And if you're online, please make sure you go ahead and put that into your questions box, and we'll find those quickly. Wait. Don't start talking yet, Zach. I have to get to you with the mic. I'll hold it.
What other places have you set up the Tesseract other than here and in the Torpedo Factory?
The question is, what other places have I set up the Tesseract other than here and the Torpedo Factory? The Tesseract has been to the Taubman Museum of Art in Roanoke. And versions of the Tesseract have existed before the Tesseract existed at Moog Fest, which is a music and technology festival. Where else? That's probably the big two. Yeah. There's current plans to deploy more Tesseracts in other facilities in Roanoke, plural, North Carolina, and possibly in Pennsylvania. So they're starting to multiply, and I'm not responsible for that. I didn't do that. That wasn't me.
And I can mention that it was an interesting feat getting it into the Torpedo Factory. Just because it was a torpedo factory, it was made of solid concrete, because if a torpedo exploded, the building should be able to handle that. So the space they built it in was a smaller space, all concrete block, concrete ceiling, low ceiling. So Tanner and his team had an interesting challenge of getting it to fit, and they just made it within there.
I'll ask one. Can you talk about the Tesseract as a space, immersive space? There are so many kinds of immersive spaces at this point. Can you talk about kind of the evolution of those immersive spaces and how the Tesseract came to be?
Sure. The Tesseract is first funded by the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative. I'll do my little smile promo here. The original idea was we wanted to turn data based around cybersecurity information into sound, because it's another way to experience data other than these big displays full of visualization, which are very important. And the emphasis for the Tesseract is multi-channel audio, so having a lot of loudspeakers around you. So we're pretty familiar with large-scale visual environments like a cave, an audio-visual environment. In the Cube, we've had large video and audio systems in there for a long time. So the challenge for us is we want to take the work created here at Virginia Tech out, especially from the Cube, and that's been a challenge because you can't move a cube. So the Tesseract is there to help take multi-channel audio specifically, but also immersive visuals to wherever, whether it's an art gallery or a conference or a school. And then it's a blank canvas. So we've used it for medical training. We've used it for art, for the exploration of big data. So it's a nice new platform that is pretty easy to set up and move around to different places, which is still pretty unique in the world. I think there's a...
I'll come back to you, Lisa. I'll hold it.
Great. How do you find the different spaces that the Tesseract is in affects kind of the experience? Obviously, I assume a smaller space means a smaller number of people can be in it at once, but does it change fundamentally, like the way in which you experience the sound and the visuals?
Right, the question is how does it change based on the location, and it can be a dramatic change, but we've been pretty lucky and selective about where it goes, especially for the acoustic side, and also for lighting. Having a room where you can control the lighting is really important. So for Brett even mentioned, we'll jog back to the picture of the target gallery. It's effectively a 7.5-foot ceiling, and typically we build this thing at least 8 feet tall. So what's nice about this system is it's very flexible. We can build it to a space like the target gallery, or if you're in the Taubman Museum of Art, there's a performance hall that's large, and we put it inside of that hall. Fortunately, these spaces haven't had a lot of effect on the lighting and acoustics because they're controlled. But to me, those are the big two important factors. If you put this inside of a big gymnasium, it probably would have a hard time with the sound localization. Or maybe even a room like this might be difficult. So it is fairly important to have information about the space.
Thank you.
Hi, Tanner. Hi, Brett. Thanks. Do you have any insight on how these creative teams select the medium that they're going to translate data to? Like, you're talking about sound, but there's also visual, maybe haptic.
I don't know. So Brett, the question is, how do the creative teams decide which media to use? And this was specifically for turning data into, or visualization or sonification. Did you have anything you wanted to say about that, Brett?
I think that's in a lot of ways where the creativity and artistic quality comes out. Art is effectively a series of decision making at the end of the day, and putting together a sequence in a new order. And that's effectively what the teams did, is they collected data and they chose a way to reorganize that data to present it. That I think is often where the artistic element came out of it.
And I think some topics are very interesting. Like, what does the human brain sound like is just a crazy question. And then you have an artist pursue that. Brandon Hale has done some amazing sonifications of data, and I think just following curiosity, but also using the artistic experience, you're, as a creator, to make those choices along the way.
Thank you.
Another question.
This is really interesting work. I'm interested in learning more about how you go from just raw data to visualizing it, or to presenting it as sound.
Certainly. Some things are a little more straightforward in approach. For example, the brain data is already a wave, and sound is waves, so you can sort of just transform it and hope that it sounds interesting. So that's a very literal approach. But then there's really abstract approaches too, where you might associate sound events with a sound icon. When you think about using a computer, all the little sound designs that happen all the time, in a way that's presenting information to you. So there's a lot of unexplored realm in terms of the more abstract ways to present it. But typically we have some kind of data set we turn into either sound directly or control parameters of a sound, like a synthesizer, where you could have a sound that's influenced by different pieces of data. The cybersecurity data is a good one because we base it on packets, and a packet has a lot of data around it, like the IP address, or what's the packet size. So you can start taking those pieces of data and creatively assign them to something. And that's the fun part. That's where the art is playing around and trying to map things that make sense, but are also interesting to the ear or eye.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we are at time. So I want to thank you, Tanner and Brett, for your work on this project and for being here this morning. I hope everybody has a great holiday weekend and enjoys a little bit of extra time and space. And we'll see you all next week with the CENI Playdate, the Center for Educational Networks and Impacts. We're going to be sharing about a project combining a great many disciplines and with precision produce and some outreach efforts that can go on there. So we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Come for donuts and enjoy the conversation as well. We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody there. Keep making cool stuff happen.